Alrighty y'all, welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to show you guys a new splitting maul that I made. This is what I like to call a cheese wedge maul. This was essentially inspired by those mauls that you'll see online or see at the hardware store. They have a pipe handle, typically about 28 inches because a shorter handle is easier to swing and be accurate with. And they have a 12-pound head. The real feel, or I guess what it would feel like swinging, maybe it would feel like swinging a 13 or something because, you know, the pipe handle has some weight to it, but that's what inspired this. So as for the construction of this, basically just took this big piece of mild steel. It's 1 3/4 inches thick, 5 15/16 wide, and then we'll measure the length here because I didn't subtract any of the length or width. Of course I did here, but overall width is the same, overall length is the same as the original block. We have roughly 7 1/4, it looks like, which sounds about right. And to cut this out, I used a hydraulic bandsaw, just regular one that lowers with hydraulic pressure. And then I took a hole punch, or a center punch I should say, and just did that right in the center on the very edge of the front, and then took a ruler, traced it back to these corners here, traced it with a utility knife, and then put it on that bandsaw. And of course it would have to sit crooked for it to cut these lines. So I ended up just using a C-clamp to put it down. I might have been able to mess with the vise, but I didn't want to spend a bunch of time doing that. And it came out pretty good. So this handle here is just a piece of galvanized pipe. As you can see, I did flap disc this down to weld it because, you know, galvanized steel, or the galvanization on this can be pretty toxic to breathe in, and you won't get a good weld. So from the bottom of the head to the bottom of this handle here, 31 1/2 inches. Overall, it's about 33 1/4. So a little bit longer handle than those cheese wedge mauls. As you guys can see here, on the end here, there's just threads. I was originally worried if this was gonna, cut my hands or not, but it's not terribly sharp. It hasn't cut me yet, and I can always just put electrical tape on it if I want. I was also worried that this handle would be too thick, kind of uncomfortable. Once again, I haven't used it a lot, but it's been all right so far. And then as you can see here, ground down both the head and the pipe, used a flap disc. I MIG welded around here and then did a second bead of weld to try and penetrate more into this weld and into the head to get a little bit better bond. I probably could have used a stick welder and really cranked up the heat, but I didn't want to mess with it. And you'd kind of have to be careful about how you did it because the pipe's thinner. You'd kind of have to spend most of your time pushing it down into the head and just a little bit now and then into the pipe. But overall, we're not building a skyscraper here, so this should work all right. The head is 10 1/4 pounds. Not sure if I mentioned that already. The pipe might be, 2 or 3 pounds. So who knows, head weight could be 11 or 11.2 if you want to talk about what it's equivalent to, if, what the, I guess the swinging feel would feel equivalent to if you were using something like a wood handle. But yeah, anyway, as for splitting, we don't have any big pieces simply because we already split up most of our pieces. So I was using pieces vel maybe like that. Some were unsplit pieces like this. Some were already split pieces a little bit bigger. And it seems to have a lot of power. One piece of wood, it was a piece of pine. It had a decent sized knot in it. It was about this thick, about that size. So just, an offcut, somebody was trying to cant a log. I more or less dropped it. It almost came to a dead stop at the top and then just fell right through because of that weight. So I really like it. At least the little bit I use, it didn't feel like it took all of my effort to swing it or anything. And it seems to have good power. So we'll have to see in the future, how tiring it is compared to something like a 6 or 8 pound maul and how well it performs on big logs. And then finally, one thing I don't like about it, besides being, untraditional, it's mild steel and, not hardened steel, not a nice wood handle, is I wanted to harden the tip of this because, if you hit rocks or anything, this is going to get beat up or just over time because it's mild steel. I was wanting to take some hard surfacing rod and probably cut the tip of this off with a bandsaw and then just build it up, grind it back down. But we didn't really have any hard surfacing rod, so it'll have to work. And then also, this kind of accentuated, in the few pieces that I tried it on, it seemed to accentuate some of the things I don't like about the 8 pound maul. I don't have an 8. If I found one cheap enough, a good quality one, I'd probably buy one. But I like the 6 because I feel like it can do just as good of a job and it's easier to use for long periods of time. But the 8 feels like if you glance a piece of wood, or if you have one of those pieces where it flares out at the bottom, it just becomes uncontrollable. It feels like it's going to go wherever it wants to go. A little bit more of a safety hazard. This one doesn't feel that way, but this one certainly does. That you'd want to wear steel toes when using this, or really when using any splitting tool. So stay tuned. Hopefully we can get pieces of wood sometime to test this on. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Do you think it's kind of a ugly thing? Do you think it's just overall trash? Would you use it? Would you not? And if any of you guys have made these or tested them, let me know in the comments how they've worked for you. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Feel free to check out some of my other videos. God bless, and see you on the next one.